I'm Aarti Johari, President of SACHI. On behalf of SACHI, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our audience and to our panelists here, Dr. Linda Hess and artist Seema Kohli, who is joining us from New Delhi, India, where it's very early in the morning. A warm welcome and thank you to both of you for joining us. SACHI would like to thank its kind sponsors for the evening, Ed and Neera Bear, and the Krishnan Shah Family Foundation. Before I introduce our speakers, I would like to remind you that as usual, we do have a short Q&A after the conversation, so please type in your questions using the Q&A icon on your screen. This evening, we are honored and delighted to have distinguished religious studies scholar Dr. Linda Hess lead the conversation with Seema Kohli. Linda Hess taught in Stanford's Department of Religious Studies for 21 years, retiring in 2017. Linda is a longtime friend of SACHI. She has too many accomplishments to list, but is particularly recognized for translating North Indian mystical and devotional poetry, particularly the works of the 15th century poet Kabir. Her publications include The Bijak of Kabir, Singing Emptiness, Kumar Gandharva performs the poetry of Kabir, and Bodies of Song, Kabir oral traditions and performative worlds in North India. Linda and Seema actually came together through their shared love of Kabir music, both being followers of the great Kabir singer of Malwa, Madhya Pradesh, Padma Shri Prahalad Tipanya. So I will now open the forum to these two, I hope it's okay to say Kabir Panthis. And Linda, please do introduce Seema, and the floor or the screen is yours. I'll stop sharing mine and you are welcome to turn on your audio and share your screen. Welcome to both of you. We are extremely excited to have you here with us.
Okay, this is my PowerPoint, but it's a blank screen, so you don't know what's coming next. All right. Good evening in North America. Good morning in India. My thanks to SACHI, to Aarti and Kalpana, who have organized this event tonight. SACHI, I've been relating to and doing activities with SACHI for many years, and they always make my life richer when I do them. Today, we will all have an opportunity to meet and share the artistic world of the amazing Seema Kohli. Seema lives in Delhi. She's exhibited her works all over the world. Let me just dazzle you with the list of cities that have hosted her, dozens of solo shows, participations in biennales, and so on. Delhi, Mumbai, Venice, Brussels, London, New York, Dubai, Singapore, Hyderabad, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Basel, Beijing, Madrid. How was that for a wonderful list? It's not complete, I know. Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't my whole technology immediately went out of control. Yeah, as her works are in many collections, including the Rubin Museum of New York, Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation, National Gallery of Modern Art in India, and so on. So Seema is a very distinguished, well-known and highly respected artist. She and I met, as Aarti has said, in the mesmerizing atmosphere of Kabir bhajans, as sung by the great Kabir singer Padma Shri Prahalad Tipanya and his wonderful team of musicians. And many of you who come to SACHI events have heard them sing and play in person. So we could say that Kabir has inspired this event. Kabir has often taken me to amazing places where I did not expect to go. So I'm not usually involved in planning, not to mention being a speaking participant in events around the visual arts. but Kabir has worked his magic here. And I've discovered another mesmerizing and gorgeous world in the art of Seema Kohli. When I discovered the range and richness of Seema's artworks, I was alternately dazzled, amazed, awed, and full of questions. So my being full of questions has qualified me to be the person who asks Seema the questions tonight. So just a little moment of images to give you to get you in the mood. The paintings, when I started looking at them, first captured me with their intense colors, their combinations of vast visions with minute details. You can see that in so many paintings. Here you've got this large figure and this sort of cosmic birds. But then if you look more closely, you see all these little deer leaping around. And even more closely, you see extremely detailed flower designs. And here is Seema herself putting in those small details in what is a big work. She, oh darn, every time I touch my mouse, even a teeny bit, it moves ahead. Okay, so Seema also juxtaposes ancient Indian themes with modern urban landscapes. So here you have obviously very recognizable traditional yogi with chakras, but then over on the right, you have the buildings of a modern city, and we'll be seeing more of that. I soon realized that her tremendous collection of works contained much more than the paintings on canvas and papers and the drawings and etchings which had initially captivated me. There were also sculptures like this beautiful bronze winged figure that she calls Soham, or works in fiberglass. Sorry, my technology is giving me some trouble. There we go. Works in fiberglass, like a whole series of Kamadhenus, very charming. Beyond all this, there are many things that I won't be getting to at all. There are murals, there are things that are called sculptured paintings. There are public works, multimedia performances and installations. Those things I must leave behind today so that we can venture more deeply into the themes and works that have been selected for our attention today. So the rest of this program will be a conversation with Seema about her art. I will just ask a few questions, but she will be doing most of the talking. Just to let you know how it's going to go, this conversation will start with a kind of a brief question about her formation as an artist. Then it will open up what is a really major theme for her, called the Hiranyagarbha. And then it will segue, it'll flow right into Hariti, because Hariti does flow from the Hiranyagarbha. So, Seema, I just wonder if you could tell that story, which I stumbled upon somewhere, of how you became an artist, how and when you became an artist.
Hello, everyone. Whichever place you are, wherever you are sitting, good morning from Delhi and good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And really grateful to Sachi and to Linda ji for getting me here and connecting with all of you. So as Linda ji, you asked me regarding what was my journey as an artist. I think it started as a very matter of fact, like introducing me to colors and paints and everything. But of course, it was a little twisted here because I was a child who wouldn't, who chose not to speak much, and it was a little disturbing for my parents, and they wanted to know what was the reason. I must have been about 2.5, 3. This has been told to me by my parents, and they took me to a psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, or somebody who was visiting from Germany, and he said that I think it would be a better idea to give her colors and do not worry. And if she responds to colors, and if she connects to color and paints and paper, I think we would have sorted this out. She may be an artist. So I was introduced as a therapy to color and paper and the rest of the stuff. But I remember my connection with the material and the images. They came alive, and it was, I thought I created a friend, and I found a friend. And I think the idea of love and connection is that the one that stays with you, and it sort of becomes a part of you, and you become a part of that that being. So for me, art is not something which is separated from me. I have never seen myself as anything else but an artist, because this was something which gave me my own identity. This was something which connected me to people. It gave me something which sort of expanded me further. It was, I was no more confined, a quiet, introverted person, but I like the play of the image, how it plays to the viewer. Even as a child, I knew that people were interested in what I was doing. And I must thank my parents for it, because this is not something that I knew at a young age. They never stopped me from painting constantly for hours and hours and hours. And they never, there was no dearth of paper. If there was no, those drawing sketchbooks, there were A4 size papers. If they were not there, then there was newspaper, there were walls, there was my own self, my, my clothes, my face, everything would be, sort of painted with. And there was no problem. Like, my mother would think sometimes that, what's wrong? Like, why is she so obsessed with it? But they let me be. And that was, I think, something which sort of just took it on from there. And I think all children are fascinated with this connection and the idea of that magic that happens with an image. How you
so could we say that, so I think we could say that your first language was color and image, and you became an artist around the age of 3, and you never looked back. Would that be fair to say?
And it stayed with me. Mostly what happens, the children, they move on, they find their own interest in other things. For me, that interest remained there, and it expanded from there.
And the bonus is you learned to talk too.
Yes, the words came as a communication with the image, and it still happens. I write poetry now as my connection to my images. It is just my conversation, with my images that I record, and they sort of become poetry. So I think it's almost everything that I am is what I create, what it has let me create.
So let's show some of your creations here. I've realized in trying to prepare for this how incredibly rich and tremendous your oeuvre, your work is. And so I want to get into the images now before we because we have such a limited time. So we're starting with this very crucial word in your works. It doesn't cover all your work, but we're going to start with it as a central word. It's Hiranyagarbha. It can lead everywhere from what I've seen in your paintings and drawings and sculptures and everything, and including how you start with this word, which of course comes from Sanskrit sources, and how you use and transform traditional Indian figures and ideas. So first of all, here is just one of many paintings I could have put up, but in which that Hiranyagarbha, that golden womb, is central, and it gets repeated. Would you just start by telling us what this Hiranyagarbha, you've done a whole series for the people that are listening, she's done a whole series of works on this theme. And what does this word and this image mean to you? And where does it come from?
Linda ji, actually, Hiranyagarbha is something which, it is part of one of the basic mantras that I learned as a child, because it was a part of the basic ritual of Arya Samaj family doing the Havan and the Homam and everything. It was not something which was unfamiliar, but the revelation and the experience of Hiranyagarbha came much later. That was about 35 years back, when I was in a space near Ganga, and the silt had moved out from the tree roots, and I just happened to go and sit in there. And that was the space, sort of meditating, and I like to follow the path of breath, and I enjoy that. So I just tried to do that. And once there, I felt the first experience of being in womb back again. But the understanding of golden womb or Hiranyagarbha, if you want, I can repeat the mantra over here. I don't know how many would be able to.
No, I want you to talk about the images.
So the idea is that in Yajurveda and the rest of the Garbha Purana, and there are so many scriptures, the idea of Hiranyagarbha comes like that space, that golden space, that space of energy from where everything is flowing out. Everything is being recycled, recreated, rejuvenated, but everything is positive. There's nothing as death. And that was so beautiful, because this, as it is explained that Surya is that source. And of course, now we know what the source is. A few days back, I was hearing that now even the cars are going to be run by the solar. So you can imagine not only the physical aspect of being, of nature, of human form is being nourished by this source, but everything that we consider non-living, like, you never thought cars are living, but for me, I thought that everything, even this table, is living. Everything has its own life, because it has been sourced out from that space, which is constantly there. It is that space which is alive, which is constant awareness and reproducing. So that sort of brought me to this subject. But as I was expanding it more and more in my work, and I was reading more and more, I came about the idea of the bloodline of the Indic philosophies, of the amalgamation of yin and yang, male and female, masculine and feminine, whatever you may call, Ardhanarishwar, that this celebration was happening. Surya, as we see in a culture, we see it as a masculine form. But when you go through the scriptures, it is the celebration of life. It is a garma. And the Garbha happens in the feminine aspect of that being. So everything, the celebration of life is feminine.
So
That is what I sort of work on.
Yeah, you sort of work on it and you become, I had this feeling when I was looking at your works for days and days, that you were like the source of a fountain of source of creation to yourself. Your creativity has been so fecund, so fertile, so prolific. And, everyone can see that in this picture. You've got many female figures. You've got them, their wild hair is actually foliage, is leaves.
This is
you've got tigers. You've got a modern woman down in, who is that woman down in the corner, Seema? That woman sitting again.
That could be me.
That would be you.
On a couch reading a book and probably wondering what is this, because at this time I was working with Laldev, who is a very revered Kashmiri saint, and she has been also a source of inspiration. She was called Laldev also because of the fact that she moved around with her body, which was clothed with only skin. And she was a realized soul, and she found creativity, and she found that source of creation in every being, everything, and she was a part of it. It was not that she was separate of it. And that's what I was celebrating here, that every being, I'm still involved in the books, and there, out there is that whole universe of throbbing with consciousness, throbbing with awareness. Everything is life, and the hair become plants themselves, because there is no difference. There is no veil between nature, humans, animals, birds, trees, night, day, anything, everything. And you can see certain unseen bodies which are just outlined with a white, color. These are the unseen bodies. The whole universe is throbbing with different energies, and only probably the energies that we see as form we connect with, but there are so many unseen ones too, and they're all a part of that supreme being, supreme consciousness. And you find yourself as one of the specks probably of the being, of that Vishwarupa, of that, and that's genderless. For me, that becomes genderless.
Now, Seema, these topics are so unlimited that we could stay with this painting all the way through the program. But I'm just kind of eager to show a few other images, and probably each one of them will be as rich as this one. But is that okay with you if I go on to some more?
Absolutely, please, because I can just sit on one forever.
Me too. All right, now this one I believe is a Shakti. You call this one Shakti or no?
Yeah, that was I'm not, the image has not changed, but I know what you're talking about. If you're talking about Shakti.
So would you just tell us what we're looking at?
Yeah. Here? So this is how the feminine, actually this idea of Shakti, Kali, whosoever, Durga, or any names, because these are names and they are concepts actually, which are all over the world. They're strewn all over the world. But when I was working on this whole idea, it was so intriguing to get into this understanding of the energy. And I started to work on Saptamatrikas, the seven mothers, and how they become a part of one conscious energy. Because one, there is Shakti, then there is the three Shaktis of the Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Durga. Then there are Saptamatrikas. Then there are Ashtalakshmi. Then there is Das Mahavidya. Then there's, so they keep on expanding and they come down to the 21, and then they are Chaussat, and then they are Ikyasi, but they're known as Chaussat, of course. So I try to portray them over here, coming out from various sources. This was out of my study. This is not something that I imagined that they were coming out from various parts of the body, like how they are moving, like Kali coming out of the foot, and Aindriya coming out of the, I think, where is Aindriya now? She is coming out of the navel, I think, and then there is Varahi coming out from her back, and then there is Saraswati coming out of the hands, and from the mouth is Maheshwari, and I think there is one more. Yeah. So there is one, but I think that's Saraswati, which is the coming out of from her eyes.
And then there's also that same lady,
which is coming out of the hand.
And I see that same lady down in the lower left corner.
Yes, again, that lady comes in because
you are part of this picture. You are always part of this picture. Now, you're talking about Saptamatrikas, so I'm just going to go to this next picture, because I believe these are also another representation of Saptamatrikas. Is that right?
I cannot see the image actually.
Really?
Yeah. This is a very, see that work was done in almost 10 years back, the one you saw previously. And this was done an year and a half back, maybe 2 years back. This is also Saptamatrika, the seven sisters, or about sisters and mothers and friends. And, this was a very contemporary take on it, how the whole city and everything. And these look like contemporary figures, but each one of us, actually, I connect with the feminine form, so I make the feminine form, but I'm talking about a genderless space. And these, how they are totally integrated into one another. It is not that they are separated, because the feminine works as the path of their creation is through collaboration. It is not a singular, a lonely one person, because you cannot be. Everything is, whether you are in your physical form, because you are part of a complete whole. That Hiranyagarbha, you are connected, your umbilical cords are connected to that womb, and you are going to be coming out of that. And each Saptamatrika, I have made their body, on their body, I have, like in the center, there is Aindriya, then there is Kali, then there is Varahi. So you can see all the Saraswati. So all of them are sort of within, and the source, what we see happening around the world, as we say that the world the universe comes together and does things. You just have to aspire. After all, how does that happen? How does that happen? That energy. So anything that is energy, I feel, is feminine, because it's constantly collaborating, it's constantly moving on, expanding, then moving on, expanding. And what we see as probably degeneration, death, or that stopping is just a time of diversification of that energy. It is nothing else more than that. And you can see the different the dance of the celebration of life happening, they're dancing above on the top of the canvas. And then there are books all over the place. I think because I have not been able to pull myself out of the books, because they are my source of that fantastical world, probably, or that source of, it feeds my imagination. It makes me feel, probably go beyond that experience, that area of experience. The path to it is my path to it is through word, to go beyond that experience. So I think they are all over the place, everywhere. And
So-
because I live in Delhi, it is such a congested, all those buildings and spaces, cardboard houses all around us.
So Seema, I'm going to go a little bit, just show us a few pictures of the tree of life, because I don't want to, I need to get to Hariti, which is the announced topic of this, but just to show, to let people appreciate and enjoy the multifarious expressions of what you've been talking about. This next theme here is just your images of the tree of life. And this is a painting that I found of the tree of life, kind of both being reflected right side up, upside down, or, in opposite directions. This is a painting. And then this is a bronze sculpture of the tree of life. I believe that's what this is, with the women, the female forms actually as the trunk, and their feet becoming the roots. I just want people to see how richly you can elaborate on these visions that you have. And then here is another tree of life with gold leaf, right? This kind of characteristic gold leaf. And of course, there's Seema Kohli down in the lower left-hand corner. She somehow always sits in the lower left-hand corner. But even though we could discuss these, and I would love to discuss the details of them, I would like to get to the next set, which is of particular interest to me, and I just call it yogis. Okay, you have a lot of
Linda. It is 7:30.
Okay, I asked to be reminded when it's 7:30. I'm going to ask you a really brief question about the yogis, and then we're going to go on to Hariti as promised. Okay. So this is an image, kind of a traditional image, except that of course your own style is all yours, but with all of the chakras, but a very decidedly female figure. Anybody who has seen traditional drawings of yogis, they are very decidedly male. They usually have a mustache, just so that we won't be confused. And then all of these chakras and so on. Sorry. And here's another one, kind of what is in the body of the yogi. He's got a mustache. And here's another one, clearly male. And just to be sure, I don't know why it goes backwards. Yeah, just to be sure that we don't make a mistake, here's a live guy posing, very, very male. Now, your images are so different of these figures in a yogic posture. You've got the lotuses, but these lotuses are quite unconventional. You only have one lotus here, and it's in a place where, probably those male yogis wouldn't have put it if they were just going to choose one. You show a real backbone here for Merudanda. This is just stunning to me. I associate yogis with asceticism and cutting off the senses. Your yogis are lush and sensuous. Please explain.
The path to spirit, for me, is through senses. The path is through prana. Understanding prana, I think anyone who understands prana, or the movement of prana and the collaboration of prana with the outer beings or senses of the other beings around, may be anything I say, you can understand your existence. So this is the first basis of reaching any space. The previous, and the fact that you asked me why a feminine form. So there is a Mahavak, Koham, then it is, who am I? That Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. And then there is Sarva Kalvitam Brahma, that everything is Brahma. But you don't see Brahma. What the khel is only of Maya. As I experience, I have no problems with anyone else's experiences. But for me, if I'm experiencing something, if I am seeing something through my senses, if I am going beyond my senses, the path is senses. There is nothing else but the khel of Maya, but the khel of the feminine. So for me, everything becomes Sarva Kalvitam Maya. That whatever the khel is of Maya. And I am at that stage that I'm very transparent, and I try to be as truthful to myself as I can be, because these are, whatever I work, I do not initiate it. It is the paper which is alive. It is the hand which is on its own, my body, which is rendering those images, and the play of my mind. Then the image is probably communicating to you what it has to. The image is alive. Image is very much alive. Is reaching you. This is the whole cycle. And the idea of having the feminine is only because whatever is happening, it is happening through that feminine energy and nothing else but that. And the outer garb can be anything. It can be a male, a female. I choose a female.
So I love these yogi images that you have created. They're just fantastic to me. And I should say not, but they convey a very different message to me from sort of the lore of yoga that I have received from the,
probably.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry to do this, but I realized that I've got to skip some things and ask you about Hariti. All right. I'm going to go quickly through. This is also Kundalini Rising, a beautiful sculpture. And I recommend that anybody who's looking online look at this incredible series of sculptures of yogic heads. This is called dhyana, meditation, and it's just amazing. And if only I were able to have your attention for 3 hours or so, we would go through all of them. But now I must go to the announced theme of the evening, though I think that everybody understands how Hariti is flowing out of what we've been looking at so far, the Hiranyagarbha, all of these female forms. So, these are some early Gandhara figures of Hariti from 1st, 2nd, 3rd century. She's associated with children and so on. But I must ask Seema, first of all, to briefly tell us, well, let's go back. You have lots of goddesses. We've seen a glimpse of them. Tell us the story of Hariti and why you chose to do a whole series on Hariti.
Actually, I must confess that when I was introduced to Hariti, that was a few years back, I didn't know about Hariti. I was visiting Bali and I saw a sculpture of a woman which had the whole universe within her, and she was pregnant, and she was in a very deep meditation with her hair as foliage. And I was mesmerized because I have been painting women with the whole universe within them, with my own intricate details forever now. And when I saw that, I was mesmerized. I said, who is this? And then the next day I visited the Goa Gata temple. And there I was introduced to Hariti. Where I was staying, there was Hariti and Panchaka, her concert, right outside the meditation room. And they told me that this was Hariti. And I said, who is Hariti? They said, okay, she's like Kali. Okay, because they knew my association with Kali. They didn't want to explain. I went and I hugged her. that sculpture. It was so lovely. It was so endearing. It was very ferocious. The face looked like demonic, but the smile was so endearing that I just went and I hugged her. And I was really, then I wanted to read about her. And I realized that she was already there as a concept. So what I want to say is that the names are very fluid. They are the bloodline of our existence all over the world, because they have been just transmitting around in different culture, different traditions, but they are the same concepts with different names. So Hariti is one of the oldest. She is the great grandmother that we have. And then she changes into Madonna, she changes into Yashoda, she changes into so many other beings. But she was a demoness who was wronged at some point as a woman, and she became a demoness, and she wanted to devour all children because she wanted to feed her own children. And that is the time at the Buddhist period, and Buddha took her into his fold. And there is a story, there's a folklore, but I don't want to go into that. So he told her that we are going to feed you. The monastery is going to feed you.
But did you say that she was devouring other people's children?
Yes.
Devouring the children.
Yes. And she comes as Putana, as So there are so many other stories attached to it. But the moment her children were fed, and Buddha took her into her fold and said that you would be outside all our dining, spaces. So she became like one of the goddesses who was revered and respected as the goddess of abundance, of fertility, because she had so many children. So she would bless everyone who was childless, probably. But in my work, she's usually shown with her concert. Here, this image that you have, Buddha is right there, but you can see the image of Hariti, how big it is. So it is how Buddha sort of gave her that space of motherhood, of fecundity, of everything, of complete, of fertility. I'm using our own words. And she was then later taken out by a Chinese monk to China, to Japan, to Jakarta, to any of these places. You go, Hariti is very much there, not only at the Buddhist sites, but also at other areas. And the Gandhara period has most of the sculptures of Hariti. That is, the Hindu Kush belt now, which is there in Pakistan. So, but there are lots we have these images, but I would like to talk about her as the mother of civilizations. It was not only that she was giving birth to children, it was that she was also respected as birthing civilizations. Now, how do you birth civilizations? Because you birth the people, and you make those civilizations fertile, and the land. So she came to be revered as earth. She came to be revered as the mother of civilizations. She was revered as the goddess of fertility. And as the time changed, her names changed. And even today, she is respected as Shashtima, and she was one of the mothers of Kartikeya also, who later was brought into the Shiva pantheon. There's another story which is in my painting where
I'm about to show the painting. Should we go on to the painting?
So
now?
the mothers are floating in the water, and Kartikeya again breaking the barriers of the usual, where a feminine form is the form of the tree, where I have represented her, but here Kartikeya becomes the tree.
So let's just go through, because this is the kind of the conclusion of our conversation. The way I've thought it out is that we show this really monumental work that you did, inspired by the figure of Hariti. And I was hoping we could go through it in some detail. So this is it's a very long painting. So this is the whole picture of it. And here you get a sense of the scale of it, right? Here is Seema working on it. And then I thought I could ask you to comment on on some details, okay?
Yeah.
So first of all is the main figure here at the top. Would you just tell us something about the details of?
Yeah, so Hariti is on the top, and there is a male and a female face giving birth to a male and a female child both. And then she is holding the sun and the moon in her belly. And the lotus is also I've tried to represent it as the symbol of fertility, but also of intelligence, of the Gura Gyan. I was talking a few days about that, about the Guhya Gyan. So she is the bestower of knowledge of Guhya Gyan. There is a temple actually by which I was inspired in Nepal, which is the temple of Guhya Mata temple, where I was taken, and it was the most beautiful experience that I had, where it is like an open womb. There is the water body is flowing within it. It is the running water which is in it, and you can see, and you can put your hand, you put your whatever you want to give to the goddess over there. It can be fruits, it can be eggs, it can be anything, and you put your hand in and take out. So this is the idea of Guhya Gyan, and she is the one who bestows that, because anyone who has the knowledge, who has the it's not knowledge, it is it is more it is that complete awareness of how you are born, why you are there, what is the purpose, and that is what is the Guhya Gyan. And I see her as the mother who is bestowing the Guhya Gyan without any, without any kind of a ritual to it. There is no ritual to it. You come and eat. That is the space that she is in. Yeah. That you come and eat. And that is what is Annamaya Kosh, what is Pranamaya Kosh. So all the koshas, she's giving a form to all the koshas, and she's absolutely inspiring as far as that is concerned. I have made her with a lot of hatching. Her feet are in a squatted position of a birthing position. And that is also the position of Lajja Gauri. I've done a lot of works based on Lajja Gauri, and I realized that all these goddesses are so fluid. They move from one space to another, and that's why probably all the rivers, air, everything is in the name of a goddess. It's very rare to maybe one Brahmaputra that we hear, at least in India, that there are male names. So that is, and then she's birthing a girl child, and of course she has a tied plait. She is birthing into a patriarchal system. Here I have a little of, this thing that in spite of the fact that the feminine rules, the feminine rules, but the systems are still held up in patriarchy, and we are constantly birthing in spite of all the liberation, the idea of liberation, the idea of moving out and moving ahead. You can see that the whole painting is so fluid, with the same blue moving from waters to the sky. Yeah. And it is just one. There is no difference, but there is the fluidity of the birthing into patriarchal system, but of course there is a heart to it. And, and then we move down to the Muladhara Chakra, being awakened. This is also for pregnancy. When you do this asana, it is that you're opening up actually this painting is moving from below to above, and that is you're opening up your Muladhara Chakra, and all creation is happening in the lower subliminal levels. There is, sorry.
Yes. Well, you mentioned that the Hariti and so many of these other powerful female figures have their hair just streaming free, and that this girl child is being born with her hair braided tightly because she's being born into a patriarchal world. You know, would you like to see that tightly braided hair of that girl liberated and all it stands for?
Yeah, and the hair, open hair, are inspired by Kali, the goddess who roams around on the cremation grounds everywhere. She is supposed to be ferocious. She is supposed to be so not bothered about anything that is happening, to the extent that every time anyone who needs to be protected, even if they are gods or goddesses themselves, they invoke the Kali in themselves.
Well, I'm taking this as a somewhat political statement, but let's not go there.
Okay, we are not going to go to the
I'm not going to go there.
But that's how Kali is represented. Yeah. She is all over the place with open hair, and she is clothed in her skin most of the time. And that really fascinates me because, not to be intimidated. She is one goddess who is not intimidated, and all the goddesses, they invoke Kali within themselves whenever they have needed any kind of help, not only in war zones, but even for their own personal liberation or upliftment of a state of mind. And it is, I have personally felt that at times when I don't want to get into that. So the better sense prevailed with awareness. So that's what it is all about.
Let me show the rest of the painting. This is like a detail. Is it okay if I go on to the rest of it?
Yes,
and
please.
Well, you yourself in your blog juxtaposed these two images.
Yes, yeah. This is what I saw, and you can imagine. I had seen when I saw her, it was like she is pure beauty and poise, and creating. The whole body is throbbing with creation. And I brought her here, and I tried to open up the chakras, which are green, because I wanted to talk about fertility, and the color mattered here. And she is giving birth to the cardboard houses you can see below. I call them cardboard houses. All the works I do, I make these houses and I call them cardboard houses. And she is the goddess of civilization.
Now, well, I'll just go to the lower part of the painting. Although we haven't paid attention to this, it looks like somebody doing a yoga practice. But anyway, there seems to be a modern woman in the middle, and then another modern woman here.
Yeah, I talked about the Muladhara Chakra.
Yeah. And then at the bottom,
this asana which she's doing, that modern woman is doing, she is doing an asana for opening up her Muladhara Chakra. And I was talking about that all creation happens at the lower subliminal level. So the Muladhara Chakra, which is supposed to be the lowest, is the most important. That's where the jewels are, where just below that. So you have to open it up, right? only then the creation. See, the physical creation is happening there, but while the physical creation is happening, it is also moving the rest of the,
Yes.
the spiritual chakras or the unseen, the Guhya chakras that we have not seen but felt. So I talked about that in that position. Yes.
So again, this image of you creating this, and I have the impression just from seeing your videos here and there that you just love what you're doing, that you
Yes,
get a lot
I
of
do.
joy and happiness in doing this.
Just don't feel like moving out of the space ever. So I'm all the time stationed in my space, in my studio, and I just love it. I love to read. I love to draw and paint. I love to travel to these places, because you have to sort of put in, seep in everything and let it flow, sahaj. So even for me, Kabir is very important. He is sort of the base of this whole thing happening. He is talking about pure consciousness, and I'm talking about the physical space of it. And they both sort of unite so beautifully because they both either or they cannot exist. The spiritual world cannot exist without my physicality, which understands that spiritual space. How do I understand that spiritual space if I am there? So it is a beautiful contradiction which is sort of opening up all the time. It's like a constant story building up.
That's beautiful. And I think there are a few questions. So I want to close with a whimsical image. And I just think that perhaps is that Hariti sitting on top of a light bulb there? Or?
Yes, it is about the conduiting, and it was this plug point, this extension wire not working. And this is what I felt about my spine and about my Sushmana.
And everything is alive.
Here, that is the unseen, and how it is connecting and how it lights you up. So, you got, I sort of experienced this. Almost everything that I do, it sort of opens up my practice in my daily living. So,
and as you said, everything is alive, and the teacups are alive, and the plumbing in the bathroom and the kitchen is alive. Yes. So with that, a very vibrant and exciting thought. I know we've gone over the time we agreed upon, but can we still have some questions?
Yes.
No, it's me. I was supposed to be disciplined, but I got too excited.
No, thank you. Thank you, Seema. Thank you, Linda. We could go on for many hours, but we have been noting a few questions and we'll try and get to a few of them. So there's been a couple of questions on how long is this painting that we just described? And where is it displayed? I'm combining some questions.
It is about 8 feet. It was displayed in one of the shows. It is in my studio right here just now. In fact, I wanted to sit there, but the light was not right. So I said, okay, we just moved to my own table. It is in my studio just now.
So it's 8 feet in length. That's so fascinating.
8 feet by about 3 feet. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. You really helped us understand it. And then there's a few questions that have come about the different media that you use for your painting. Oil, watercolors, what do you typically use? What do you prefer?
I prefer line. That's what I'm thinking. And it's very practical for me to use acrylics, because it's sort of, I do a lot of washes, so I can do very thin layers, and so that's why I do work in acrylics and inks. But my favorite medium is pen and ink on paper.
Pen and ink on paper. That's wonderful. There's a question on Hariti. seems like she traveled to Bali through Buddhist thought, from the Buddhist stories that you say. Is she a major Buddhist goddess?
Yes, of course she is. She
she's-
is, even in today's time, you go to a Buddhist monastery, their dining halls, you do see. I was in Vaishali a few years back, and I did a film on these monasteries and the monastic order, and all the dining halls, the entrance to the dining hall, the wall there has Hariti sitting with her children. And that's the most beautiful. You entering a space and she's there. But she has, a lot of names have changed. And just now, of course, Shashtima or Santoshi Ma, I think she's called in the Hindu pantheon. Like, she's still there. Yeah, of course. And she's also seen as Kartikeya's mother, of course, but later she became his consort.
So that's the Hindu tradition.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take one more question, and I know Kalpana Desai wants to come on in. So Kalpana, this is your cue. She wants to end our session, but I do have one question that is very interesting. It's when you place yourself in a painting, are you an observer or a participant?
I think I'm a participant at a certain point, because I become a part of that painting, because am I the observer? I don't know. Because once I'm there, I'm looking at the different things, whatever is happening, and that's what I'm probably trying to wonder what it is all about, this fantastical world that is existing beyond myths and traditions, and of course rooted in them. So I think I become a part of it. I become a part of the painting only.
So you start as an observer and then become part of it.
Yeah, because I'm confused at whatever I am.
You're all one.
Yeah.
I saw a quote in my research on you where you made the statement, myth is reality.
Yes.
Let people just ponder that about you, how you fit into that picture.
Yeah, it is more on how people see me as a part of it or away from it. But for me, a painting is a living thing. It is as alive as me. The images are as alive as me and as living as me. And that's the reason they are talking to the viewer and sort of connecting the chain. If it was only me, I don't think that would have happened. They're absolutely there. They have their own identity, their own being, and their own lives.
That's wonderful. Thank you for those interpretations, and thank you both. Kalpana, I can't see you.
Okay.
Yes, here you are.
I'm on. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Seema and Linda ji, for weaving these glorious connections on the theme of the goddess and the feminine. And Seema, you really carried us with you on such an expansive and multifaceted artistic journey, so nourishing, so self-empowering, and liberating in every way. So you really enlivened, I would say you enlivened the Hariti in each one of us, and she's now here to stay forever. We too learned about the Hariti, started learning about the Hariti when we decided to plan this event, and really kind of got into it in such an exciting way. And we're so grateful that you could be with us. This ever vibrant and radiant feminine force arising from the depths of your consciousness engulfs our space with boundless energy. And for leading us through an ecstatic inner journey, we really remain truly indebted. And Linda, we have you to thank for bringing Seema to us and for leading us through a very insightful conversation with her. And many of you know that Linda has been a guiding light for SACHI for many of our collaborations at Stanford. And so the Kabir connection that brought Seema and Linda together also holds true for SACHI. Sachi has had this great honor and privilege of partaking with Linda ji in very enriching Kabir music led by Prahalad ji and his team of musicians that she discovered. So our eternal thanks to you. And, we would like to leave the audience on a very proud and fitting Hariti note. A magnificent goddess Hariti holds pride of place at a Gandhara exhibition titled Beyond Boundaries, Buddhist Art of Gandhara at the Berkeley Art Museum, which is called BAMPA, B-A-M-P-F-A. And it is timed so perfectly for this event. You will encounter this goddess. She is one of their prime pieces. Try not to miss this very rare viewing opportunity before the exhibition closes, and it is extended through March 13, 2022. And I say this especially because Seema talked about Hariti as the mother goddess of civilizations. And the exhibition goddess Hariti is in the guise of Tyche, the Greek goddess who gives birth to cities. Wow. So here is a perfect connection, where we talk about the mother in such an expansive way, birthing has no limits in terms of what you can birth. So please partake of this. And Seema, thank you for leading us through this wonderful terrain and a new terrain for many of us. And you have introduced us to a very wonderful concept, and we will want to get deeper and deeper into it. So thank you, Linda. Thank you, Seema. It was a very special evening and morning for you.
Yeah.
And
thank you very